Chad. What's that? Well, Justin and Paul, he talked about, and we saw pictures of, and we are supporting them. But there's somebody else we're supporting. Samuel Daje. Does anybody know where Samuel is? Where?
He stayed with some couple somewhere.
Daje Samuel's in heaven. He passed away a number of years ago on a mission journey to the north of Chad, trying to check out new frontiers for their ministry. But you're in the right country. A missionary couple, family that goes way back to when we were really getting this new chapter opened up, and they did a lot of, what's that? Pools. Frank and Karen Poole. They are, do you know what country they come from? Germany. And it's kind of cool because our Grace churches in Germany had a passion for missions in Africa, and so they sent Frank and Karen down there in the 90s maybe, and we got to latch on to them, and they've been a part of us ever since. So I saw him in the one picture in the African Council of people that were going on. So I just thought I would remind you of them. We continue to support them. Maybe just take 2 minutes and tell us what Frank is doing these days.
I have a microphone.
All right, yes, you do.
I'm still wired, if it's on.
Yeah.
Frank Poole is just such a great friend and colleague, and have so much respect for him. So the Pooles worked in Chad, as you mentioned, for about 15 years, and raised their kids there. They actually were deployed to Chad to work among Muslims, and started a church there that we really don't talk about because it would be very persecuted. We don't even take Westerners to go visit it, but that was their main passion. But after being there for a few years, it was necessary for Frank to step into a bigger leadership role, so he led our ministry in Chad and helped lay the foundation for the church planting movement that's going on there now. And about 15 years ago, then they moved to the neighboring country of Cameroon to help organize some things there. But they do have a younger daughter that has some learning challenges, and so it was necessary for them to go back to Germany. So they actually live in Germany, but he is the Africa director, and he and I are on the phone, pretty well on the phone. Nobody gets on the phone anymore. We're on Skype or GoToMeeting at least once a month, and have traveled a lot together to Chad. So if you guys invested in the Pools, that was a great, great family to support, and they continue to work with us. Yeah.
Now I open it to you if you have questions or thoughts about what is happening within Compass in the world, the Giles family. And if you don't have questions, I've got plenty I can do. But go ahead, Randy, back there, real loud.
How has technology, I guess since you mentioned that briefly, has it allowed you to move faster with the movement within Compass?
Yeah, technology is doing a number of things. Oh yeah, sure. How is technology enhancing what we do at Encompass? And let me give you just a couple examples. First off, it allowed us to reorganize the whole mission globally 6-7 years ago, because we realized that up until then, people pretty much belonged to a team because they lived close to each other. But now you can be a part of a team because you share the same kind of task that you do. And so these people connect all over the world on a regular basis. It also has enhanced the way that we train and coach and mentor people. So anybody that's new that joins us goes through some pretty intense training, but in the past you just sort of deployed them and hoped that they would remember what they were trained. Now we make them remember it because there's somebody who actually connects with them monthly or weekly and says, are you practicing the habits that will make you a good cross-cultural worker? So a lot of things like that, coaching and mentoring and so forth are happening. So those are some things. But then there are people working in technology to be able to spread the gospel more. So developing online training courses and being able to mentor people. We've got a guy, for example, who we've led, our staff have led a number of Japanese to Christ who are in the U.S., but then when they go back to Japan, they're just scattered all over the country. So how do you connect them? And there's probably no church anywhere close to most of them. And so they're able to disciple them through technology. So yeah, I feel like we've just gotten started in many ways because the potential's there for more, but we're doing a lot of stuff that way. Great question, thank you.
All right. Wow, this is really loud.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about what you do and how you mission to people all across the world, but your own personal experiences and whatnot with traveling the world, was there anything really exciting, like life-threatening situations or stories that you have?
Wow, I don't get asked that question very often. So the question is, yeah, did you hear that? Like, what crazy stuff happens? So one of the most interesting experiences were a number of us several years ago, it was actually in 2004, had the crazy idea that we needed to go into the war zone in Iraq and see if there were opportunities for church planting. And I remember getting on this little plane that was going in there, and people in the military would say, well, no big deal, but it was a big deal for me. So as we came up over Baghdad, nobody knew this was going to happen, but the plane flipped on its side and circled all the way down to land, because not that long before then they'd shot down a plane that kind of came in the normal way. I'm glad I didn't know that till the time. Everybody was talking and just kind of normal buzz, and then they said, we're going to do this crazy formation. Well, it was pretty interesting to be there, and we actually did partner with some people in Baghdad for about 10 years and helped to run a ministry there. And then, you know, unfortunately, like so much in Iraq now, the Christian presence is pretty much eradicated, but at least we had a piece of that. But trying to get out of Iraq was very complicated, and to make a long story really short, most of the people in the States thought that we were the people who in 2004 were hung from a bridge in Iraq, because we're just trying to get out about that time, and it was like only a couple hours difference, and that seemed to mark a real deterioration. There was sort of a feeling that we'd won and that this was going to become a democratic country and all that, but things kind of got crazy. So yeah, it's hard to top that one. In addition to that, I thought did you even know this story? Sometimes I don't tell her all this stuff. Yeah, okay. Sometimes it's better for her not to know some of this things. But yeah, so those things happen. But other than that, a lot of it's just being willing to put up with things. So there are parts of the world where, this time I'll talk about Africa, where you know that you're being exposed to a lot of different things, and disease-wise and bug-wise, and where you're living for a week or two because you're teaching a course, and you're actually in a little mosquito net inside of a mud hut, and the only way to wash is when somebody brings you a bucket of warm water, and the bathrooms are just literally holes in the ground and all that kind of stuff. And it's never fun going into that stuff, but it's a blast being with the people who really want to learn and who are just brothers and sisters in Christ. But usually when I get out of Africa, because I go once or twice a year, it feels pretty good to get back on the plane and get back to some sense of normalcy. There are some places in the world where you just really don't want to ask what they're feeding you because you don't want to know. It's kind of good that it's kind of dark. You just sort of eat it, and you drink it, and you say, okay, God, you can protect me about anything, through anything. So now you get to do it again. So yeah, am I answering some of your question? Yeah, those are kind of cool things. But a lot of the stuff is just being willing to just persevere and push through some of those things. Yeah. Yes?
Turkey, I understand that's...
Hold on, I'm coming.
Oh, I like to see Larry run. That's good. That means you need to ask the next question so he can come up here. Let's keep him running here.
I understand Turkey is basically a Muslim country, and Christianity cannot be spoken out in public. So how are your missionaries working with that?
Well, the first thing I want to correct is don't talk about your missionaries. Let's talk about our missionaries, because we're all part of the same movement. And I know I can correct you, right? Because we go way back. So at least I just assumed that I could. But Turkey is a very interesting place because the government, Erdogan, and a lot of those with him are attempting to impose a stricter form of Islam on a country where most of the people are happy with the way it was, which was a very liberal form of Islam where there's a lot of freedom. And so there's a lot more tension going on between Turks right now than actually between Turks and others. But there are parts of the country where missionaries are having a hard time. And you can't just go into places like Turkey just saying, I'm here as a missionary, here's my M card, let me in. You have to go in with some other reason to be there. And so we've been careful that our people have legitimate jobs. They're contributing to society. Because the other thing we try to avoid, and I don't want to pass judgment on some, but it seems that some just go there and they just find some, it's not really a job, but they say it is, and then they just, work for the gospel, which, is great. But we want to make sure that it's actually legit, because we want to live an example through that. So these are people that are working that way. So we have 3 teams in Turkey right now. You're not recording this, right? Because they're not allowed to record this stuff when we talk about Turkey. Can you make sure this doesn't go on anywhere?
Won't be recording this.
Yeah, we can't record these things. So I'm talking about places where we're not allowed to. Yeah. So we've got a team working in